What is up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Build with the CEO. I'm your resident CEO, Trevor, and I'm excited to be here. Now, I apologize for being late today. Technical difficulties, schedule got screwed up. Had a call that was scheduled right before this, so didn't have as much time to get things set up. But I am here, and this is recorded, so you can always watch that recording. And we are in a new month. So last month we were talking all about client experience. If you missed any of that, check the emails, check the Facebook group, check the YouTube channel. Everything is there. Did a lot of teaching on all things client experience. Now, this month, we're kind of staying with a similar client experience theme, but we're moving into workouts. And so all month, I'm going to be talking about workouts. Now, this is a topic that is near and dear to my heart as we use this every single day in my facilities. Now, to give you a little bit of backstory on Coach Catalyst, Coach Catalyst did not actually start as a workout builder. We started as a habit and education builder, and actually very embarrassed of first iterations of Coach Catalyst. But 9.5 years later, here we are today, and the platform is much better, and we've got some really cool things coming down the pipe in the next couple months. So definitely be on the lookout for that. But we started as a habit and education builder. Then this thing called COVID hit. No one really talks about it. 2020, right? And we were never going to build a workout builder. That was never on our minds because we were in we were serving a different purpose, right? But COVID hit. We had a lot of people that were using Coach Catalyst for challenges and nutrition coaching and lifestyle coaching and all of that stuff. And their facilities got shut down because they were brick and mortars. And so when their facilities got shut down, they needed a workout builder, and they didn't want to use Coach Catalyst and right. So we set out to build a workout builder in a very specific way. So over the course of this month, I'm going to teach you how to use it most effectively, the way that it was built. And this just wasn't just built on theory; it was based on like how we actually coach. Right, and so I'll explain a lot of the nuances around that. I'm going to give some tips and tricks around other areas of the workout builder as well. But that's how the workout builder came to play. It was because of COVID, and our coaches needed something. And we still serve boutique gyms. We still have a ton of people that use us for challenges and nutrition coaching and that kind of stuff. But a lot of people use us for workouts. So we decided to dedicate a month to teaching you guys how to do workouts more effectively. And I'm going to teach you firsthand. I'm going to talk about the things that we're doing at our facilities, the things I think we're doing really well, the things we maybe not aren't doing as hot, and the things we're looking to improve upon. And hopefully that helps you create some efficiencies in your business. Because when you build the workout builder correctly, or when you set it up correctly, over time you should become more and more efficient. Like for example, our coaches can now create personalized programs in 5, maybe 10 minutes per program versus the 30 minutes or more that it was taking before the workout builder. So for us, we've done the whole evolution of workout builders. We did Excel spreadsheets, then we went to Google Sheets and had really cool automations and build outs with drop downs and all of that fun stuff, right? Then we went to another software in our space when Coach Catalyst didn't have a workout builder. And then when Coach Catalyst developed its workout builder, then we brought everything into Coach Catalyst so we could keep all of our client communication, our client data, the metrics, the vault, everything communication in one platform, which was really our goal. And so workouts allowed that to come full circle. So today we're going to talk workouts. And step one with workouts in our world is assessments. So you may not have thought about this as a use case for Coach Catalyst, but assessments are a really good way to use Coach Catalyst because we need to assess before we start writing anything. I don't know about you, but I want someone to come into my facility and I want to get to know them. I need a health history. I want all of that information before I get them on the floor or even start their first workout. Is I want to know as much as I can about them so that we can create the most effective and safest possible environment for that person. And if I don't have them moving around a little bit, if I don't have them filling out information and health history, it's hard for us to do that. And honestly, I think I truly believe that the assessment process gives you as a coach the ability to wow that client a little bit and really deliver value first. So deliver value before they end up paying you anything. And so we actually don't have our clients sign up for a membership until after the assessment, because that assessment will give us an idea on what that client needs inside of our facility. So much of what I'm going to talk about throughout this month is what we're doing at Functional Fitness. So Functional Fitness is a small group personal training facility. We do a 1-to-6 model, so no more than 6 clients with a coach, but each client has their own individualized program when they come in. Clients do sign up for hours, and they do commit to 2-3 times a week type of membership. So they commit to coming to the gym, but we don't stop at their programming in the gym. We also provide programming for them outside of the gym, depending on what their goals are and what they can commit to. So it all happens within Coach Catalyst. And I'm going to pull back the cover, pull back the curtains on a lot of this stuff throughout this month. And hopefully it gives you some ideas. And I'll talk about the good, the bad, the ugly. Like I don't necessarily need to hide anything. I don't think we have a perfect system, but it's working. Okay. So today, week 1 is going to be all about the assessment process. And I've been having some computer issues today, but hopefully I can do some screen sharing with you today so I can show you a little bit about the assessment process, what it all entails, so that you can start building your own assessment process, because I think it's really, really important. And it's going to be a little bit different if you're in person versus if you are online. Like your assessment process is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to specifically talk to offline coaching, but I'll kind of put in some nuance around if I was doing a lot of online, or for some of our online people, here is what we do. We try to see even our virtual clients, having them come to the facility so that we can assess them and see them in person. For me personally, it's just a much better experience, but I think there are some ways that you can augment it in the online world. So let me see if I can share my screen here, and if everything is loading the way that it should today, then we'll do this. So all right. So we're going to come into here, and I am in Coach Catalyst, in my Coach Catalyst account, actually in my testing account. So none of these are real people. They're all superheroes. And we're going to kind of just go through a little bit about how we approach the assessment process. So our process at Coach Catalyst, our process at Functional Fitness is we have a client come in for what we call a success session first. Okay, they're going to come in and they're going to do a success session. In that success session, we're going to determine whether or not we are a good fit for this client. Okay, so in that success session, we are going to collect some health history, some basic information about that client, just enough for us to have that conversation and figure out if we're a good fit for them and if they're a good fit for us. Okay, nothing super complex. But we don't actually do any of that in Coach Catalyst because they're not a client yet. Only our clients get access to Coach Catalyst. So that is part of when they book that appointment. They have a form that they fill out inside of SuperCoach CRM. So we separate the two because it's before the sale and it's after the sale. Before they end up buying, that all happens in SuperCoach CRM. Afterwards, that's all in Coach Catalyst. Okay. So before, they fill out a little questionnaire, all of that kind of stuff before they come in. That's printed out. That's ready for me or one of my coaches for that session to be able to walk through that client or walk through that session with that client, right? And then if we decide to move forward, we book the movement assessment. Sometimes it does happen directly after the success session. Sometimes it's another appointment. Okay? Let's pretend today like it's another appointment. So if it's another appointment, then what happens is this. So let's say that that client is going to come in today, the 7th. We are going to assign them a form. Okay, so I'm going to add a form right in here. And let's see if we got it in here. Perfect. So we're going to assign them the movement assessment form, and we're also going to assign them the body composition form if they are a weight loss, fat loss client. Okay, so those will be assigned on their account. So in that first session with the client, we're going to get the app downloaded. We're going to get it all rocking and rolling, and they're going to see both of these assessments on their account. But these are not for the client. They're for me as the coach. Now, me as the coach, I'm either going to be operating off of my laptop, or I'm going to be operating off of an iPad, or worst case scenario, I'm operating off of my phone. Typically, it's a laptop, and I'll show you how we do it here in what you're seeing on the screen and how we process that. So we have a laptop on a little rolly table that we move around the facility. Okay. Again, remember, this is all in-person stuff. So when the client comes in, cool, we open up the movement assessment and we start rocking and rolling. but I don't actually open it here. I'm going to click up here. I'm going to click preview client. When I click preview client, I'm going to see that movement assessment. I'm going to hit start. And that's going to allow me to fill out that assessment for that client. So let's just kind of go through here. We'll fill out some of these questions. What kind of injury do we want? Let's do this. Bilateral knee surgeries, right? Actually, this one necessarily. Injuries for us is like right now. So let's call it right shoulder pain, right? Nondescript. And then we're going to go some surgery notes. Maybe they had bilateral knee surgery. Okay, cool. And then we usually put a date on it, 2021. Awesome. Okay. And then we'll go through that. So we heavily rely on the FMS as part of our assessment system. So we have built in the FMS into this particular assessment. So you're going to see things like deep squat and inline lunge and all of those components of most of the components of the FMS. We've kind of adapted it to our scenario. But then after every assessment, we have notes, and this is where the coach can keep notes, things that they saw. Maybe with the deep squat, we saw, feet turned out, excessive forward lean, whatever we may see in that particular assessment, right? And while we're doing all this, I'll explain it here towards the end, but we're going through the assessment process. And at the end of the assessment, we're going to pull out the pieces that are important, and then we're going to put those in a very specific place. So all of our coaches have access to that particular, to that information, right? So there's a lot of questions here. So we're just going to go through all of these. These are all specific to you and your assessment process. You can put whatever you want in here. You'll see we use a combination of multiple choice type questions. We also use text-based questions in here. You could use number-based questions. You could use 1 to 10 based questions, whatever you want to get the information you need. Okay, so we go all the way through, and then at the end we have some notes, and this is where the coach can just kind of summate what they learned inside of that session. So let's just let's say this client had reduced overhead extension, poor active straight leg raise, right? And then let's say like impingement on right shoulder during test. Okay. And then we submit this. Okay. So a few things on why we do it here. One, this gets saved in the client's account. Okay, it gets saved in the client's account so that we can always refer back to it. But I'm not a huge fan of just having this saved in the client's account, because that would mean if I needed this information, I would have to dig through it. And I may need it, but there are certain pieces of my assessment that I want to have regular attention to, or I want to be able to refer back to quickly. And then we can do the same thing here for our body composition assessment, right? So we could enter in a weight, right? Let's say do this, maybe lean mass, cool, right? Body fat mass, right through there, muscle mass, right? Let's go 89, cool. And then body fat percentage, right? And then let's say this was 220, there we go. And then submit. And remember, when we're doing these number-based questions, we can tie these questions to their metrics. So when the client or we fill out these questions, right, then that's going to update the graphs for those particular metrics, make it super, super simple. So we'll submit that one and it's all set. Now, when I go back to Britt's account, you're going to see that those are both green. They're going to show up underneath here. So now what I'm going to do as a coach after this assessment is all said and done is I'm going to come here into my movement assessment. I'm going to come down to my notes, and I'm going to grab anything that is relevant that I need. And then what we do is we go into the vault. So remember, the vault is the place that is only visible by coaches. Clients can't see what is written in the vault. So this is a great place for you to keep your notes about said client. So we would put in here something like this, assessment notes, and then we would copy and paste, right, those pieces there. We may also put in things like goals. We may put in things like injuries, right, current injuries. Maybe surgeries would go in here, but anything you need to be able to refer back to, or anything that's important, relevant information. If someone else was going to train this client, they were going to step in for you for that particular day, they could look at this, they could get some good insight into the client, and they would be able to coach that client safely and effectively, right? If you are an online coach, you may also put in here like, equipment that the client has. We may have to put all that stuff, like where do they train, anything, because let's say you have 50 people, right? You can't remember everything about every single person. And so you need a place to be able to collect that stuff, right? So you guys get the picture here. I'll save that note, and now I have that there. This is typically something we would also pin, so that if I'm keeping more notes about that client, right, the things that are important when I'm programming for that client are always front and center. Okay, they're always right here inside of that vault. And remember the goal section too, this is also private to you as a coach. And so you could edit that if you wanted to, set some goals for that client. Maybe they want to be, 5% body fat by December 1, right? Just so we can have a place to remember what that client is working on, right? The goal is just to be able to provide an incredible experience for this client. So we need a place to collect this information, and putting it in Google Docs and putting it in all these other places takes way too much time to go in and find it and all, like, get the information and then do the thing we need to do. Now, literally, when you're inside of this client's account, you're getting ready to program for them, you can just come over here to the vault, check their stuff out, and then we can come over here to program for them. And then those forms will always live inside of this client's account as well. And so forms are a really, really powerful way to do assessments. Now, let's say you're not an in-person coach, you're an online coach. Your assessments are going to probably look a little bit different. One cool thing about forms is we can do pictures inside of forms. Okay. And so you may want some static pictures. What does an overhead squat look like? What does standing postures look like? What does potentially a lunge look like? And so that's another way that we'll gather information, is through pictures if we're an online coach. Now, a really cool strategy that I see a lot of online coaches using Coach Catalyst is using an assessment workout. Okay, and so I'm going to see if I can pull this up here if I have this in this account. But let's just see. Let's see what it's called. It might be athlete. I'm not going to have it in this account, but let me show you how it could work. So we're just going to create from scratch. So let's say we wanted the client to record a overhead squat, right? So I may, right here, body weight overhead squat. We can grab that one. Okay. I may have a video on how we want them to execute said thing, right? I may put in my description how I want them to execute the exercise, right? And then we can fill out sets, reps, details. None of that really matters. The description is going to be what matters. So I might put in here, see description. And then I may have the client execute that and then upload a video of that directly into the comments of an exercise. So I'm just going to add this workout. Let's just call it assessment. Right in through here. So let's say with this particular workout, right, the client, right, is going to be in the comment section, be able to upload a video. So this is a great way if you have like 4 or 5 movements that you're going to assess the client on. You can put the movements in here and the client can upload their videos directly into the comments. And then you can see them that way and get a little assessment through from a video component. But again, it helps keep it nice and organized. So if you ever have them do it again and want video again, you can see the videos side by side. So it's a really cool way that we can bring in, utilize workouts as an assessment tool. So don't let the tools trip you up. Okay, first we need to define what are the things that we need to assess in order to be effective with this client. Typically, there's like four key areas here that we want to make sure that we're assessing. So we have our health history, right? Just call it our history. We want to assess the client's history, injuries, all of that stuff, right? Medications. We want to get as much information on that as we can, right? Next one's going to be some sort of movement. Like if we are programming for them, we need some idea on how they move, right? Another one's going to be lifestyle. So what does their lifestyle look like? How much sleep are they getting at night? What does a typical day of eating look like? What are their stress levels like? Those kind of things. That's where like the number-based, not number-based questions, the scale-based questions are a really good question for that type of lifestyle questionnaire, right? Rate your stress on a scale of 1 to 10, and then we might have a text field of what are your biggest stressors, right? And we do that for nutrition, do it for all the lifestyle pieces. And then finally, some sort of like body composition. So if you're an online coach, that might mean that we are doing, if someone doesn't have access to like an in-body or bioimpedance, maybe they're doing like a waist circumference, a hip circumference. Maybe you're doing a bunch of circumferences, maybe you're doing progress photos, all of those kind of things. Okay. So the assessment process can be fairly lengthy. And honestly, like if I have an online client, I don't really want to throw all of that at them on day one. I want to break my assessment process down into its key components. Maybe I have an initial intake with a history, and then I have a lifestyle questionnaire, and then I have them do some body composition stuff, some metrics there, and then I have a movement assessment. Right? I could break that down and then drop that into my onboarding. Right? Day 2 is this, day 3 is this, day 4 is that, day 5 is the last piece, and collect all that information, and all of it culminating in a call with that client where we're going through all that information. Like that is very possible, and you can build it right into your onboarding. It's super, super cool. One thing that we've done too at Coach Catalyst is, I'm going to share my screen one more time with you, is we have we've gotten you a bunch of done for you stuff, and some people miss this. So I just want to make sure that you know where it is. So over here on in the bottom left corner in this little help section, if you click that and you go in here and you just type in done for you, you're going to see done for you forms. These are all the forms that we've created at Coach Catalyst that is going to make your life a whole lot easier. So if you scroll down here at the bottom, you're going to see an in-body one. That's going to be things like weight, body fat percentage. Just make sure when you do download that you map that correctly to your metrics. And then we have circumference measurements. We have some workout readiness stuff if you want to get into that. We have kind of some weekly check-ins if you want something for like challenges or with your clients. And then we also have this initial assessment. This is a really long one. Think about this as like your lifestyle and your health history questionnaire. And it could definitely be split into two. And all this stuff you can modify. All you need to do is just click on the name of it. It's going to pop it open here, and then you just save it. You save that program. And when we save that program, it'll save this assessment in there as well, right? So here's this big one, right? So this is really our lifestyle and our health history questionnaire, which honestly I would split into two. I like this idea of having shorter assessments. Now we're back. If you're going to be working with people for an extended period of time, it's really, really important to take your time at the beginning. That's why I like an initial health history. I like a lifestyle questionnaire. I like some sort of body composition if that's what we're interested in, and then finally some sort of movement assessment on what makes sense for your particular client. Right? At our gym, we handle the health history before they come in so that we have that inside that success session. In the success session, in person, we do a lot of lifestyle stuff. So we're asking about sleep and nutrition and all of those things. And then after the success session and we decide to move forward, then we do the movement screen and also the body composition metrics. So we collect all of that data. So you just have to figure out what makes sense for that data for you and how you execute it. So hopefully you got some value out of this. Hopefully you have an idea and you start wrapping your brain around how assessments work. For us, we wanted to keep it all inside of our systems, which is why we utilize forms. And it's been such a great tool for us because we can copy highlights from those forms and put those into the vault. So then I don't have to go form by form to remember stuff. I just go into the vault and I see the important information inside of the vault. So it helps keep all our coaches on the same page. So if you have any more questions about assessments, definitely let me know. I'm happy to help. But this month is all about workouts. Okay, so every week we're going to be talking about workouts and the best way to execute them. So I hope you have a great Tuesday. I will see you back here next Tuesday. If you've got any questions, just tag me in the group. We'll see you later.